You know, sometimes the grandest stories aren't about dragons and castles, but about people, places, and the remarkable ways they come together. And right here in our very own city, we have one of those stories, a story of amalgamation, right here in Thunder Bay. Imagine, if you will, a time not so long ago, a time when the vast, shimmering expanse of Lake Superior met the rugged Canadian Shield. But not one city stood here, but two. Two distinct, bustling communities, each with its own heartbeat, its own history, its own dreams. On one side, hugging the Deepwater Harbor, was Fort William. Fort William was the older sibling, born from the fur trade, a place of industry and grit. Its docks bustled with activity, trains chugged through its yards, and its people were known for their practical nature, their strong work ethic. You could almost smell the grain and the lumber in the air, mixed with the sweat of honest labor. Fort William was the anchor, the workhorse of the lakehead. A little further north, nestled along its own beautiful crescent of shoreline, was Port Arthur. Port Arthur was often considered the more refined, the more picturesque of the two. It was a place of elegant homes, grand public buildings, and a growing tourism industry. Its people prided themselves on their civic beauty, their thriving businesses, and a certain air of sophistication. You might hear the gentle lapping of waves against pleasure boats and the chatter of commerce in its streets. Port Arthur was the pearl, the inviting face of the lakehead. For decades, these two cities, Fort William and Port Arthur, lived side by side. They shared the same stunning natural beauty, the same cold winters and glorious summers. They shared the challenges of being frontier cities, building something great in a vast wilderness. But they were separate. They had their own mayors, their own police forces, their own fire departments, even their own rivalries on the hockey rink. "We're the industrious ones," Fort William might declare. "We make things happen." "And we're the beautiful ones," Port Arthur might retort. "We make life worth living." There was a healthy competition, sometimes a spirited one. Residents would often identify themselves by their city. "I'm from the fort," or "I'm a Port Arthurite." But as the years passed, a growing realization began to dawn. The world was changing. Industries were evolving. To truly thrive, to attract new businesses, to build a stronger future for their children, they needed to think bigger. They were two arms reaching out, but what if they could become one powerful fist? The idea of amalgamation began to gather momentum. It wasn't an easy conversation. There were passionate arguments on both sides. People loved their cities, loved their distinct identities. There were fears of losing history, losing control, losing what made them unique. It was like asking two old friends who had always had their own houses to suddenly share one. But visionaries in both communities saw the potential. They saw that by pooling resources, by speaking with one voice, they could achieve so much more. Imagine one larger tax base, more efficient services, a unified front for attracting investment, a truly regional identity. And so, after much discussion, much debate, and a great deal of courage from leaders and citizens alike, on January 1st, 1970, a profound change took place. The city of Fort William and the city of Port Arthur officially ceased to exist as separate entities. In their place, a new city was born, Thunder Bay. It wasn't an instant transformation. The old rivalries didn't vanish overnight. People still had their favorite sides of town, their preferred shops, their inherited loyalties. But slowly, steadily, something remarkable began to happen. The strengths of Fort William, its industrial might, its practical foundation, began to merge with the strengths of Port Arthur, its civic pride, its focus on quality of life. Engineers from one side worked with planners from the other. Emergency services became one cohesive unit. Schools and cultural organizations found new ways to collaborate. The new name, Thunder Bay, itself was an amalgamation, a nod to the magnificent bay that connected them, and the powerful, thundering skies that often graced it. It was a name that embraced both the wild beauty of the land and the burgeoning strength of the new city.
Today, when we look around Thunder Bay, we see the enduring legacy of that decision. We see the bustling port that serves as an economic engine, a nod to Fort William's industrial roots. We see the beautiful waterfront, the vibrant arts scene, the stunning natural attractions, reflecting Port Arthur's love for beauty and community. Thunder Bay isn't just Fort William plus Port Arthur. It's something entirely new, something greater. It's a city born of the realization that sometimes, by bringing our separate strengths together, by daring to merge our individual identities, we can create a stronger, more resilient, and more vibrant whole. It's the story of two distinct parts becoming an unstoppable, unified force. And that, my friends, is the powerful story of amalgamation, written right here on the shores of Lake Superior.